Thank you very much, Dr. Kudiat and IFPH team. I hope you all must have enjoyed my earlier sessions, that what I shared my knowledge with you, and I heartily welcome everyone on 262nd day of the non-stop continuous homeopathic education to the homeopathic fraternity for the students, for the homeopaths, and for the everyone, those who are taking interest in homeopathy. So it's a great privilege for me to share my thoughts again with the IFPH. And today we are going to discuss about the obstacles to the cure. Obstacles. In life, we are always facing obstacles in some way or some other way. And we try to find out how to work on that obstacles. The same way in our homeopathic practice, we are also facing a lot of obstacles when we are treating our patients. Though we have done a thorough case taking, thorough history taking, though we have taken a right subjective symptom, correct objective symptom, but still we are struggling to get and give the good results to our patients. At that time, we think that what's wrong? Either it is wrong with we, means with our consultation, or something wrong with the patient. Here, the real obstacles comes to the existence, and now we are going to discuss how to overcome that obstacles and how clinical investigations will help to rule out that obstacles, and then we can achieve the real cure to our patients. So here I will take an opportunity to share my screen. Okay. Okay. Is it visible clearly? Hello.
Yes, sir. Okay, yes.
Okay, fine. Thank you. Yes. The first thing that I must say that the greater the obstacles, the more successfully we treat it. The number of obstacles, the number of complications are more and more with the patients. Homeopath can show its skill to overcome and to remove that obstacles to the cure. When we are driving or when we are just passing to the road, we can get this sign that obstacles ahead. It's a warning sign. It warns us that you should be a bit slow, you should be a bit careful, and you should keep the obstacles in your mind that you should not end up with an complications or end up with an accident. So this is the sign that obstacles ahead, and let us discuss about obstacles to the cure. So homeopathy, the art of healing. Practice of medicine has been called the art of healing. And hence, a cure is a product of an art. Dr. Hahnemann has defined cure as the highest ideal of cure is rapid, gentle, and permanent restoration of health, or removal and annihilation of the disease in its whole extent in the shortest, most reliable, and most harmless way on easily comprehensible principle.
Yes.
This is very, very important. The first two aphorisms is very, very important for every practitioner. As Hahnemann explained, that highest ideal of cure. What the cure is always rapid, gentle, because Hahnemann has seen in his time that the treatment was very cruel, leeching, cauterizing, bloodletting, all this thing was causing problem to the patient, and his soul, his pious soul, the humanity which he had in his heart was really cried, and he found that the cure should be rapid, cure should be gentle, and it should be permanent. It's not a separation. It's not a temporary thing which can relieve the patient, and again patient will sail in a same boat. So these two aphorisms, the physician high and holy mission is to restore the sick to health, to cure as it is termed. And the second aphorism, the highest ideal of cure is rapid, gentle, and permanent restoration of health. Or removal and annihilation. Annihilation means complete destruction or obliteration. Annihilation of the disease in its whole extent in the shortest, most reliable, and most harmless way on easily comprehensible principle. Here I would like to draw the attention that the shortest, the most reliable. Many times I come across a patient that, say for example, a skin condition. Patient is under dermatologist supervision. Patient is regularly taking antihistaminics, steroids, emollients, and topical application. But patient is always in status quo. Because as soon as the patient stops using the steroid, antihistamines, and topical ointment, patient again back to the square. Patient is again getting the same symptoms again and again. So here, the permanent restoration is very, very important. And what he wrote, Dr. Hahnemann wrote in Organon of Medicine that he means we, physician, homeopath, must investigate what is to be cured in disease and know what is to be curative in various medicine. So it's a power of curativity of the drug. And finally, he knows the obstacles to recovery in each case and is aware how to remove them so that the restoration may be permanent. Then he understands how to treat judiciously and rationally. This is also very important, to treat the patient judiciously and to treat the patient rationally. And if we treat like this, then we can be called as a true practitioner of the healing art. So this is the philosophy that what we have learned in our Organon of Medicine. Every homeopath at one point in their clinical practice, they must have come across some type of stagnation of the treatment. Patient would not have responded the way it should. When this phenomena is happening with the patient to whom we are treating, we always consider the fundamentals of case taking. So we are again taking history, again checking the subjective symptoms, again looking for the objective symptoms, again thinking about the PQRS, modalities, thermal reaction, constitution, diathesis, miasm, everything. But still, we are struggling to achieve the real cure to the patient. When this scenario happens in our practice, at that time, we should always think about two real obstacles to the cure. And to find the real obstacles to the cure, we should always implement the clinical investigations. They are very, very important. It gives a sound documentation before treatment, after treatment, and with that, we can also come to know the prognosis. And we can also come to the management of the clinical condition to whom we are treating. So now let us discuss something more about the obstacles. So here, how cure can be achieved? Hahnemann has explained about the cure, but how we can achieve the cure? The answer is by maintaining homeostasis. And what is homeostasis? In French, it is called the milieu interieur. So let us see what is homeostasis. Our master has mentioned about the vital force, mind, body, and soul. So maintaining and restoring balance between abnormal pathology to normal physiology is called homeostasis. Our duty is to bring the abnormal pathology, which is the disease, to the normal physiology. That is called the patient at ease. So homeostasis means, homeo means similar, and stasis means standing still. When mind, body, soul, and vital force, they all functions in a natural harmony, then we can call that homeostasis has been maintained properly. And what is homeostasis? That we have discussed, but it was first invented by French physiologist Claude Bernard. Claude Bernard was a French physiologist. He first published in 1865, and he defined homeostasis means, homeo means similar, and stasis means standing still. And in French, it is called the milieu interieur. Now, again, we are coming back to the Dr. Hahnemann's theory that the vital force capable of acting in harmony with the physical arrangement of our organism. When homeopathy restores the sick to health quickly, safely, gently, and permanently, but easily comprehensible principle. So, when the vital force is working in its normal rhythm, when homeopathy restores the sick back to the health very quickly, safely, gently, and permanently on easily comprehensible principle. But when it stops working, when patient is not getting better or not feeling better, there is no any sign of improvement being noticed by the patient and being noticed by the relatives, being noticed by the physician, then always we should think about the obstacles to the cure. And what are the obstacles that has been mentioned by the Herbert Alfred Roberts, Dr. H.A. Roberts. He wrote about obstacles to cure in his book, The Principle and Art of Cure by Homeopathy. Recently, on 7th May, was the birthday of Dr. H.A. Roberts. Actually, I was supposed to present on 6th of May, but from unavoidable circumstances, I have to shift my presentation on it today. But on that day, I was just about to mention for the birthday of Dr. H.A. Roberts, was born on 7th May, 1868, and he died 13th of October, 1950. And let us remember him and pay our thanks, honor, gratitude, and tribute to bringing the obstacles to cure in our notice. He also mentioned about the obstacles to cure in two different ways. He described type of obstacles. One type is error from the part of the patient. So when we are taking any history, and when patient is missing giving correct history, when patient misses some observation, modalities, periodicity, so this can cause one of the obstacles to the cure. And another obstacles is error from the part of the physician. When physician fails to write a correct prescription, then it can cause a sort of obstacles. And another condition is errors in pharmacy. If we have prescribed Graphitis 200 to any patient, and pharmacy does not have that medicine in their stock, and if the pharmacist, if the homeopathic pharmacy gives Graphitis 30, then patient will not get the desirable results. So this is the error in the pharmacy. An error in the prescription, as we studied that constitutional remedy, miasmatic remedy, intercurrent remedy, supplementary remedy, complementary remedy. So we have to check the remedy relation to write a correct prescription. Some inimical we cannot mix. If the scenario happens like this, then it's an error from the part of the physician. So all this detail has been mentioned by Dr. H.A. Robert, and he mentioned about the two types of obstacles to the cure in his book. And now we are discussing what are the obstacles, as Dr. H.A. Robert has mentioned, that one is from the error from the physician. Another condition that he has mentioned about the error from the patient. But still there is a one thing, and that thing is unseen obstacles. We cannot see. In initial case taking, initial history taking, initial examination. So those obstacles, those unseen conditions, those obstacles, how we can manage it, how we can treat it, how we can overcome it. And for that, we have to discuss some interesting cases.
Good.
That how we miss the diagnosis, how we miss our limitation. Sometimes I should not say, but I have seen with many patients that if they have taken a homeopathic treatment from any homeopath, they have been given a lot of assurance that no, you will be get better 100%. But in that scenario, in that case, when patient is not getting better, patient is worsening at that time, when patient comes to me, I just thoroughly investigate. And when I found that I am unable to treat that patient and this is my limitation, then I straightway tell them that, see, homeopathy is not a magic science. We have to play within our limitations, and I can't exceed my limitations in any way. Recently, 2 days ago, one lady rang us that my husband has got a stroke and I want to bring my husband to your clinic. Then we said that, no, you can't bring, because we can't treat stroke at this stage. You have to go to the accident and emergency department, call the ambulance, take your husband to the emergency medicine department, and your husband will be managed very well over there. So we should, so this is here, the Odessa para comes. Dare to be wise. Here we have to be courageous to tell, to explain our patient that this thing is not within our limitations. I would like to draw your attention that in UK, we are not able to treat some notifiable diseases. Right now, COVID-19 is a pandemic. All over the globe, people are dying like anything. But here, we are not able to treat any patients of the COVID because of the Section 75 under the notifiable disease. And unfortunately, I have not seen any acute and active patients of COVID as well. So here, it's a limitations. We cannot treat tuberculosis in this country, in UK. We cannot treat epilepsy. So because it's a set limitations and we have to follow our limitations. So if we play within our limitations, we can save our patient and we can save homeopathy as well. So let us discuss some interesting cases. And this is the first case of chronic abdominal pain. A case of chronic abdominal pain, male patient, 37 years old, from Nottingham. having a chronic abdominal pain at epigastrium and umbilical region since past 3 years. He is an executive. He used to drink 10 cups of tea per day, unable to eat, was feeling bloated. Solid food always disagree. Liquid food helped. He had a severe constipation, high level of stress at work. He took various treatment from Chinese. He took homeopathy. He took herbal. He consulted GP. He consulted consultant gastroenterologist, but no relief. I advise him to consult a gastroenterologist and do get investigated properly, because he had a 12 cups of tea every day. So here I was just wondering that in office, if you are drinking tea, then are you using a normal teacup or mug? Then he said, no. He having this, I have shown picture of mug, picture of glass over here, which is made up from thermocol. And this thermocol glass having a coating of wax. When the endoscopy was performed, patient was found a big ball of wax inside the stomach. So here my limitation comes. I said that we don't have any medicine that I can treat you to dissolve that wax. No doubt he's drinking a warm tea, hot tea. With that, wax gets melted, but the accumulation of wax was such that he has been operated. The consultant has shown the ball of wax to him, and ultimately patient got better with the help of surgical intervention. Homeopathy has not worked in this patient. So this I am explaining about our limitations. But with the proper history taking, I could found that drink. So, and fortunately at that time I had a student clinic. 10 to 12 students were sitting with me, and they told that lachesis. Liquid food easily passes through the stomach, and solid food he feels difficulty. Then I explained them that don't go always on the rubrics. When X-ray has been taken, wax is a radiolucent. It will not come in X-ray. But when the endoscopy was done, the endoscope has shown that there is a ball of wax inside. So this is the story. And here I felt that I have saved the homeopathy. If I would have told that, no, I can treat, then really the blame would have come on the homeopathy. So now we are going for another case, a case of panic attack when any ambulance is passing, when you are just driving on a road or you are just walking on a road and ambulance is passing, it makes you to get panic. But here, the ambulance driver, he was getting panic. The 35 years old, very healthy, handsome young man from the Northampton, he came with a complaint of getting panic attacks, disease spells, and he was diagnosed with the panic attack, idiopathic panic attack. There is no any reason that they can label him that this is the real cause for the panic attack. Series of consultation with psychiatrist. He has undergone counseling session. Occupational therapy has been done. Allopathic beta blocker means propranolol was given, but it has failed. It was not working. Then antipsychotic, that is chlorperazine D2 receptor. It has also failed. Acupuncture failed. Homeopathy he hasn't tried. So someone has suggested that better you try for the homeopathy. He came to see me and I have advised him for radiological investigations, X-ray and MRI of cervical spine. and which has shown severe osteophyte. This is the real obstacle, and that's why I have showed the arrow over here. Severe osteophytes with degenerative disc lesion, and that was causing a nerve root compression. With this pain, with the pressure on the nerve root, he was getting panic. It was causing a sort of a parasympathetic inhibition, palpitation. He was feeling like he was just passed out. He was just feeling dizzy, and he was treated very successfully, looking to these severe osteophytes in the cervical neck region with the help of Calcarea Fluor 3X and with the thiocinamide. Patient got better within 3 months. So here, the obstacles was the severe osteophytes with degenerative disc lesion, with the nerve root compression, and I have also advised this to homeopathic remedies along with the cervical neck collar. And patient is better, and since then, he came to see me for any other condition, but not for these panic attacks. Okay, now we are coming to the case of exostosis. A young girl, Miss B, was brought into my clinic with the chief complaint of severe and chronic pain in the right arm. After trying various treatment options since couple of months, there was no relief. The patient can be described as a very lean, thin, but healthy young lady. Fair complexion, long hair, and she hardly fell ill during her childhood. She appeared to be very shy, yet very cooperative and enthusiastic girl. But because of the pain, the patient was getting very angry and moody with a high degree of irritability. The clavicular swelling was first noticed after 3 months and had continued to grow in size and shape. So in this case, it was considered as a congenital abnormality. The patient experienced no pain while pressing the swelling, but she was unable to lift, hold, or handle anything heavy with her right arm. And if she's doing that, then she would feel the pain in the right pectoral region. So it was a referred pain. As it was considered as a congenital abnormality, and the consultant has told that there is no cure, and if it grows bigger, then only surgical intervention is the only option which can help you. So you can see the picture of the exostosis. The projections of a bone, the pointed beaking of the bone, you can see over here. It was an exostosis in the mid-clavicular region. This could be exerting pressure on the scalenus groove of muscle. And the differential diagnosis was put like this: cervical rib, scalenus-centricus syndrome, and thoracic outlet syndrome. These were the three differential diagnosis was made by the consultant. I took her history. I found that this was a Soraton psychotic myasm. Diaphysis was tubercular and psychotic, and chances of birth trauma. I here put a question mark, and X-ray has shown that there was an ununited fracture of the mid-third of the right clavicle associated with inverted V-shaped angulation of the fragment. You can see the inverted V-type angulation. And you can see with periodical picture after administration of Calcarea Fluor 12X. And you can see the difference that whatever homeopathic remedy has made to this. As we started the treatment, this was the first picture when she came to see me. This was the second one after 1 month. And you can see the projection has gone a bit bigger. So here you can see the Hering's law of cure. Cure takes place from within outward. So from within it came outward. And that's why the projection has become more pointed. And slowly, you can see in the last picture after 1 year, it has completely regressed. So this is the thing, the congenital abnormality has been labeled, and the obstacle was the surgical intervention, which patient was not ready, because here, before doing any surgical intervention and any possibility of surgical intervention, they just explain that if we do the surgery and if something goes wrong, unfortunately, then you might paralyze your limb, and they got very much scared. And that's why they came to the homeopath and they took the homeopathic treatment. So now again, we are coming a case of alopecia universalis or alopecia totalis. Chip complaint. A young girl had a complaint of hair falling for 9 months prior to visit to my clinic. She tried various treatments at different places, started with intense itching and circular eruptions. This is very important. Intense itching and circular eruptions after a few days of having a haircut at beauty salon with a lady hairdresser. This girl had a severe itching resulting in progressive hair fall. She lost most of her hair, fell within few months, complained of pain at the root of the hair. This condition is called the plica polonica. While combing and washing her hair, and the patient developed severe constipation at the same time. With all allied complaints, she became irritable, angry. As she's losing hair, she's getting bored. So she wants to be alone, wants to cover her scalp with a scarf. And when she was covering her head with a scarf, she was getting a lot of sweating and a lot of perspiration. Pain in abdomen with nausea. This is very typical. Every day she was complaining of pain in abdomen with nausea. Otherwise, she is very sharp, active, smart, and inquisitive child. The PQRS, that what I found is she having a fear of black dogs. And when she found that a dog is coming on her way, she just changing the sides of the road. So now she consulted many trichologists, dermatologists, cosmetologists, international chain hair herbal clinic. In UK, there is a one international hair herbal clinic. They are advertising on television, on Asian television channel. They are regularly advertising. She tried that as well. It is quite expensive. And she tried lots of home remedies, but problem was worsening day by day. Her mother brought her for consultation and for opinion, as she never tried homeopathy. I suggested KOH test. We have to scrape some skin from the scalp and we have to send it to the laboratory. They fix it on a slide and then they check it to find what it is. That is called the KOH test. And it came positive. And after we started her treatment with intention to remove the obstacle to the cure. Now you can see the result in the next slide. So from here, we scraped some skin and some hair follicle and everything. I prescribed Bacillinum successfully to her. I always consider investigations are always important and inevitable. KO test came positive, confirmed the ringworm fungal infection. We call the tinea capitis, as it is on the scalp. If it is on the body, we call the tinea corporis. If it is on the private parts, then we call that thing as a tinea inguinalis. And if you refer the Bacillinum with the Materia Medica, then you will find that Dr. Brunet has shown that ringworm of the scalp and Tiriasis versicolor on the body are indication of the tubercular diathesis. When I took a history, I found that her grandfather, he had a tuberculosis and she majority of the time living with him. So tuberculosis patients are better in dry sunny climate in mountains area and in the pine forest. So this was the narration by the Brunet. And now you can see the result. So with the help of Bacillinum, when we remove the fungal infection, the Tiriasis, the tinea capitis, and the homeopathy has made a miracle to this girl's life. And right now, she is full of confidence and now about to getting married. So this how homeopathy is working. When we are taking a detailed history, we are always consider the obstacles in a form of whether it is visible or invisible. If it is visible, then how can you put a correct technical diagnosis? Tinea versicolor, tinea capitis, tinea inguinalis. These are the things which we read in the book of medicine, book of dermatology. But if you want to give a short of a proof that you are only treating the tinea capitis, then KOH test is very, very important. And that's why I always insist and I always go with the investigations. In my previous webinar as well, I always mention about investigations. And I always present my papers with the investigations before treatment and after treatment. And that's why the patients will get more and more faith in homeopathy and more faith in homeopathy. So here I will discuss about a case of female fertility with positive torch test. T stands for toxoplasmosis, TO, R for rubella, C for cytomegalovirus, and H for herpes. A subfertile couple had a blighted ovum, spent too much money for fertility treatment, failed couple of IVFs. They went for few IVFs, but it failed. They came for consultation. I advised for a blood test for torch, means toxoplasmosis, rubella, cytomegalo, and herpes. And what I found, you can see over here that here, the rubella, IgG and IgM antibodies, that 87.08, and the normal range should be 0 to 10. Same way, cytomegalovirus, IgG, immunoglobulin G, and immunoglobulin M, it was 17.02. Ideally, it should be 0.25. So this is abnormal. This is unusual. And when you see that it is absolutely unusual, then what you have to do? You have to take again history. And with the history, you will be able to see the miasm, diathesis, constitution, and the causative factor. The obstacles, the high level of rubella IgG has resulted in a failure of the IVF and miscarriages. So when I treated that patient, I will tell you that what medicine I have given. Now you can see the rubella has came down to 1.54. And after that, patient became pregnant. Here the urine for HCG, human chorionic gonadotropin test, it came positive. Patient become pregnant, and the obstacles has been removed by removing the high level of rubella. Okay, now coming to another case, chronic allergic rash to a young schoolgirl. A young British girl. She's very fond of horse riding.
Dr. Nikunj, how long you will take?
Yeah, this is the last case.
Okay, because we need to finish in time. That's
No problem.
okay.
So young British girl fond of horse riding developed skin eruptions at the age of 9 years. Fair, fat, flabby, witty, bubbly, rash on forehead, arms, thigh, legs with circumscribed round margins. She visited dermatologist and was prescribed antihistamines, steroid, pseudocreme, and with the prolonged use of steroids, she put on weight, and the picture was looking like a Cushing syndrome. Her mother said, while taking history, her mother said that she having a horse fur allergy or horse hair allergy, that she's going for horse riding. This was a misconception. But while taking history, I found that she was fond of fresh mangoes. In UK, you will get mangoes around the year. It's not like a season. It's not a seasonal thing over here. You will get mangoes all around the year. And she is fond of fresh mangoes, mango pulp, tinned mango drink, tinned mangoes, tinned mango slice, mango candies, and mango slices. Before going for horse riding, she must have mango drink, some mango slices, something which is made up from the mango. And when after horse riding, when she was returning home, she was angry, red, rash, itching, and she was labeled that this is because of the horse riding. And when I researched detailed with this young girl, I found the salmonella was causing the problem. And the mango contains salmonella. The Mexican mango is containing salmonella. So I was treated her with Mangifera mother tincture and Baptisia tinctura. And she was completely cured. So this is how the obstacles has been removed from my patients. And now I'm going to end my session. Hope you would have enjoyed this. And any question, you can email me